Hey guys, what's up? It's Rygar the Destroyer, and today I'm going to be showing you how to paint your Hoth turret. First, let's go ahead and go over what you're going to need. First off, you're going to need some white paint of some kind. I'm using this. This is just like interior paint, like latex paint. I actually got this for free, and that's why I'm using it. You can really use basically whatever kind of paint you want, as long as it doesn't interfere with the materials that you're using for, meaning that it's not going to be a solvent for anything. So yeah, just check that before you use your paint. But yeah, white paint of some kind. You will also want some cheap brown and black paint. This is just tempera. It's just a water-based like craft paint for kids. It's super cheap. It's basically the cheapest paint you can buy, but you don't need a whole lot of it, and it's not really for coating, your Hoth turret. I'll talk about it more later, but you just need some cheap craft paint like this. You will also need some black spray paint. This is like a 99-cent can of like Walmart spray paint, and you're only using just the littlest little bit of it. So you might be able to get away with not using this if you don't want to spend the money on it. And also, you might need chrome or gray paint if your turret piece here or your mechanical pencil didn't have a gray part. I know sometimes these come in different colors, so you might need to get some gray or chrome spray paint to paint this guy up. And then finally, of course, you'll need some paintbrushes. This is just, again, really cheap paintbrush that I've had, and an old washcloth or t-shirt or something. And I'll talk about why you need this more later in the video. But the first thing that you'll need to do here is go ahead and base out your Hoth turret in your white paint. Now, I'm going to be putting some primer on first. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. I'm just going to just to make it go on a little bit easier. One thing I will say about using like latex interior paint is it's really good for filling in little gaps like this. It does kind of clean up the finished product just a little bit, but if you're careful when you're putting it together, you shouldn't have to do too much of that anyway. But I'll come back whenever I've got the whole thing painted white. Alright, now that you've painted the Hoth turret here white, go ahead and grab your turret piece here. And what you're going to want to do is, if it's not already silver here, you're going to want to grab your silver or gray spray paint and go ahead and paint it this color. And then once that's dry, what you're going to want to do is take your black can of spray paint and mist over just the end of the barrel. Let me grab the finished piece here so you can actually see it, what I'm talking about. So see how this here fades from black into silver here, and it looks like there's been, like ash or something has been caked on the end of this barrel here. So what you're gonna wanna do is take your barrel piece here and your spray paint, and you're going to start off of the end here where you're not actually spraying, and spray and then release kind of quickly. And I'll try and take some video of that so you can see what I mean. Alright, so I'm outside now. I'm actually in my garage. Make sure that you always spray paint in a well-ventilated area. The garage door is open, so I'm not gonna die in here, I guess. So go ahead and take your barrel piece, and what you're gonna do is start off of the barrel. See how I'm not hitting? And then you're gonna kind of feather it back on like toward your hand there. It's hard to see out here because the lighting is so horrible, but it's heavier up here at the end, and it fades in. And I'm doing that kind of by just starting and then letting go really quickly, and it feathers it on. It's pretty simple, and it ends up looking really nice. So go ahead and do that. While the barrel is drying, I'm going to go ahead and weather the turret here. And what I mean by weather is what you're trying to do is make it look like it's not new anymore. So here's just flat white paint, basically. It hides a lot of the details that you've put in. Really, the only reason you're seeing these so clearly right now is because my lighting is so harsh. It creates a really defined shadow. But on this one here, it looks like it's been deployed in the field and that it's been used at some point, which helps to kind of build a little bit of realism. So if you want, you can leave it perfectly white like this, but I suggest weathering it to try and make it look a little bit better. And the way you're going to do that is going to go ahead and grab your brown and black tempera paints. And what you're going to do is, I like to start with brown. You're going to put some of it in a little dish and then add water. As you can see here, you want to get it fairly liquid. I'm not going to give you exact measurements on, like to get this exact blend because I don't know. You'll know if you're doing it right if it goes on and you can see it, but it's not too heavy. And you'll be doing it wrong if you're going on and you're actually getting like a paint consistency, like it's actually covering really well, that's too thick, you need to add water. If it's too thin, it'll go on and you won't notice that it's being applied. So just kind of keep that in mind. Neither of those things are bad. If you want a really light weathering, you're going to use more water and less paint. If you want really heavy weathering, you're going to add more paint and less water, obviously. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a paintbrush and you're going to dip it into your paint that you've just mixed up, the watery paint. And what you'll do is you'll sponge it on like this, and you'll get it in all of the cracks and seams. I usually end up going over the whole thing, but what you want to do is let it sit heavier in the creases and cracks. And then what you're going to want to do is let it sit for maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds, maybe longer, depending on how heavy you want the weathering. And you're going to take an old rag and wipe some of it off. Now what you're going to want to do is leave it in the heavier corners. So see down here at the base, in this corner, there's more paint opposed to right here on this flat surface. So really the reason why you're doing that is because dirt and grease and stuff would sit heavier in this corner than it would on this flat surface, because it's a corner and it's harder to clean. So don't soak up too much of the paint. Try and leave some of it in areas where it makes sense to have it. And another thing too, if you have any mess ups on here, it's not a big deal, but weathering will kind of highlight them. So on this one here, I didn't do the best job of cutting the foam core piece right here, so it's kind of rough. So what I did is I just avoided weathering that spot so that your eye's not drawn to it as strongly. So just kind of keep those things in mind. Don't let your paint sit on there for too long because it will soak in and kind of over weather your piece. And it's hard to mess up. So if you do leave it on in one spot for too long, it's not a big deal. You can just tell yourself that it's a spot where mud splashed on it or whatever, and it just sat there for a really long time. So just kind of have fun with it, and it's totally freeform. So don't think too much about it. All right, now that you've weathered your turret, you're almost done. One thing that I forgot to mention in the last part, and I didn't realize this until after I had already started painting it, was that I didn't tell you to also use the black paint. Also make a wash with it. I actually just mixed it into the same brown that I had been using because I was done with it. Just whenever you're using black paint, especially over white, just be really careful not to add too much. Keep it really thin, add in just little bits at a time and test. But yeah, I've done black and brown weathering over the entire turret here. As soon as you can see, like here's like a small mess up. That's really not a huge deal. It's technically a mess up, but I think it looks fine, so I just left it. But anyway, moving on, go ahead and grab your turret barrel here, and what you're going to do is just go ahead and glue it right in there. And whenever you're doing this, just keep in mind that this plastic piece here is kind of susceptible to heat, so don't press the hot glue gun down in there too hard, and don't overfill it because you don't want it spilling out. But aside from that, just kind of keep it in there, you know, level where you want, and then you're done. If you enjoyed these videos, please tell me down in the comments section, because these took an absolute ton of work. I've put just hours and hours into making not only the prototypes for these, but also the finished products here, as well as the video. So please just, if you like these videos and you'd like to see more of them, just, you know, tell me down in the comments section below. But anyway, if you have any comments or questions, please leave them down in the comments section below, and I guess I'll see you later.